Hey guys, this is Matt Invictus, and yesterday I had the pleasure of reading the instant comic book classic Scarlet Strike Force #1. Now, this comic was my first ever introduction to G.I. Joe. I have not seen a single episode of the show or the movies or any comic books before this. This is my proper introduction to the franchise. Until now, all I knew about G.I. Joe was that there was this cute redheaded girl named Scarlett who is very pretty, and then there's this evil chick named the Baroness who is also very pretty, and there's some guy named Cobra Commander who is evil. He's a bad guy, and then they made a couple of not very good GI Joe movies, and one of them had Dwayne the Rock Johnson in it, and that's about all I know about GI Joe so far until I read this comic. This is the first GI Joe thing I've ever experienced. This is a comic book that pretty much everyone hates and is so bad that it got canceled before the first issue came out. And I understand that's probably not the best look for me, but people have done far worse things to the G.I. Joe franchise, so let's move on. Okay, the most notable thing about this book is that it was written by a greasy, lazy millennial named Aubrey Sitterson, who looks like he really wanted to be in Nickelback or some similar, not very good post-grunge band, but didn't quite make the cut. So I got into writing comic books. He's notable for going on social media and claiming that people are like conspiring to sabotage or destroy his career, even though his books don't sell very well at all, and he's actually sabotaging his own career. Again, this book here, the pre-orders were so low that it got canceled before the first issue came out. But according to Aubrey, that's not the reason his career isn't taking off. It's because of a conspiracy. Okay, Aubrey. All right. So getting to this issue itself, the best way I could describe it is boring. It is one of the most boring comics I have ever read. At several points while I was reading, I considered just stopping because I was just so uninterested in what was going on. It felt like the biggest waste of time ever, but I decided to push through just for the accomplishment, just so I could say, yeah, yes, I did actually read one issue of that book, and it was quite bad. And I didn't think I could do a full review of this book because of how bland it was, but obviously I changed my mind. So, the most notable thing about the book itself is that one of the team members is a Transformer, like a not just a Transformer type character. He's like a literal Transformer. I guess he was a Decepticon or something, and then he ended up joining the G.I. Joes because I guess all those Hasbro toy lines take place in the same universe now. Unfortunately, Transformer Dude is not very interesting, and you know who else isn't very interesting? Everyone else in the book. All these guys, there are so many characters in this book, and basically all of them are described by their skills. There's one dude who's like the martial arts guy. You got Scarlett, who's like the leader. That's it. She's the leader, and she's a redhead. So that's about it. And then you got that blonde chick who's like the driver. She likes to drive things. Then you got the morbidly obese chick who who logically probably wouldn't even be allowed in the military because of her health. Basically, her character trait is that she likes to hold big guns. Like pretty much every time she shows up, she's holding some kind of a big gun because that's her entire character. So basically, it's a team full of blocks of wood, each with a different special skill, and that's what defines all of them. And again, I don't know anything about G.I. Joe. I don't know how complex the characters are in comparison to this comic, but as it is, it wasn't the best introduction for me. And the plot structure of this book is absolutely horrible. Aside from the fact that I could barely tell what was going on, and maybe I would have been easier to follow the story if I had read Aubrey Sitterson's other G.I. Joe comics, but I don't want to read Sitterson's other G.I. Joe comics. I want to pick up the first issue of Scarlet Strike Force and be carefully explained exactly what's going on, but it didn't do that very well. The thing is, the majority of this book, it doesn't even focus on the main team for the book. It, like, the big action scene, it's got, like, all these other G.I. Joe characters, and they're the ones who get the majority of the focus in the book, and then it turns out that they're not even the main team this series was supposed to focus on. At the end there, you got Scarlett, she's like, hey, I'm going to put together a whole new team of G.I. Joes, and she gets, like, a bunch of characters who did not appear in the issue until that point, and then they barely get any panel time in this. It's so poorly thought out. It is just absolutely, it feels horribly unprofessional. It feels like a really bad fan fiction that somehow made it to print. And that's about all I can say. Oh yeah, that Baroness chick who I guess who is evil. Apparently she's now Cobra Commander, and again, the comic does nothing to explain how that came to be, how this chick is like Cobra Commander now. Didn't even bother trying to explain it, so that was very disappointing. If there's one good thing I could say about this comic, it's that at the end they all go to like this island or something, and there's dinosaurs on it, and the dinosaurs there are actually more scientifically accurate than most dinosaur portrayals. They're like I guess they're supposed to be like raptors, and they are covered in feathers. They do look like big killer birds, like they do in real life. But that doesn't stop the Jurassic Park films from ignoring that little tidbit. I mean, in the next issue, they probably say, "Oh no, velociraptors!" Even though like velociraptors in real life were not that big. They were like I don't know, like the size of like turkeys in real life. So maybe they might screw up that issue, but at least the dinosaurs had feathers. So that's the one good thing I could say about this book. Other than that, it was quite bad, not very good at all, and I can see why it was canceled before the first issue even came out. I'm not sad it was canceled, and what else? Again, it's just boring. It's one of the most boring comics I've ever read. I wasn't even remotely invested in anything happening in this issue, and hopefully IDW can do better G.I. Joe stuff in the future, or maybe this is how good G.I. Joe has always been. I don't know, because I don't know anything about it. So okay, that's all. That's everything. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. Good night, everybody.